So welcome, I'm Mandi Arthur-Struss, or Mandi. In the world of costuming and sci-fi, I'm considered master costumer just because I've won some awards. I don't think I'm up that high, but you know, you win some awards, they kind of bump you up without a choice. Uh, so I am here today to talk about bought or found items to make one-of-a-kind costume. A lot of people that have started costuming are a little scared because they think they have to build it from ground up. That's not the truth. You don't have to. I did a panel, that's why I have this on, that was pulling items out of your closet to make a costume for cyberpunk. And so this is one of the things that got thrown at me and put on. So I just want to show you what that looked like. These are my snow goggles, my snowboard goggles that we were going to try to snowboard. Didn't happen. Of course, we have the good old wig that I have gotten from places. And this was a garage sale find that has been Grandma Adams and many other things. It's a weird thing, and I buy the weird things that I see out there. But what I want to talk about is with costuming, there's a misconception by some people that you have to, like I said, make it totally from the bottom up. I always ask, what is your goal? Now, if I am doing something on stage, in the hall, that's not being judged, I now will mostly go to buy bought items and change them. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people are like, no, you must make it from scratch. No, you don't. Most of us have probably, if you've done costuming, you've done it yourself kind of thing. And what I want to talk about is how I approach costuming. Everybody has their own way, but I learned my costuming, I'm going to hit this first, from my mom. This is one of her costumes that we did of us growing up, where she made everything from scratch, but then we would keep on changing it. So my sister is Snoopy and I'm a magician. The Snoopy costumes became a moon costume where I had moon boots, so all of a sudden became a spaceman and things like that. So I was raised in how to view costumes and pieces differently from a different point of view. One of the things that they are doing more, where they're allowing people to come on stage, well, they could have done it before, but they're making more for the masquerade. They're saying, yeah, this is costuming. Come on stage. You've found something. You've changed it to make it look like the character. And they actually have that new category this year for our masquerade. And they did it at WorldCon, where you can take items, find them, and change them to put them on stage. So there's that kind of thing. If you want to close the door, you can, if it's too loud. So what I'm going to do is walk through each costume and what I found and go from that and talk about the extra things you can do to change it to make it a different item, if that makes sense. So when I first started, I had a picture of me as Marty, Morty, or Mandy, and it's just because I found this jacket. If you know anything from Return to the Future or Back to the Future, I found this at a Goodwill and I'm like, well, we were grabbing that. I don't know when I'm going to use it, and it became a costume. So it's that kind of looking at items and just grabbing them that happens. With this one, a lot of things are things that I have laying around. With Joe, he was doing Dr. Doofenshmirtz because I bought a stuffed Perry. That was the costume of that one. He had a lab coat that was from an event, lab coat. I had a suit and a tie, and I just had the wig that I was wearing that I had bought for another costume, and had created the costume just because I knew these characters. Very simple, very fast, easy to do. I'm missing my Mad Hatter. Oh, there it is. With hall costumes, when I approach something, I'm kind of jumping all over, sorry. I find, like I said, I find items and I they might sit there for days or years and then come back and be created something else new. When I go out, usually I will find something and go, oh, this could be a Mad Hatter, this could be this kind of thing. His hat, pointing to his hat, is what started this costume. The hat is something I found at a Halloween event, and you can't see it, but behind there is like a skull, but I was able to hide it because of the cardboard. So what did I use to change it? I used tagboard to make the piece. I used a scrap of fabric that I just made or sewed into a tube, wrapped it around, and then found a suit at Goodwill and bought gloves and made him a necktie. So costuming can be as simple as finding something and going from that, if that makes sense. Okay? Dash. One of the things I get pulled in is plays on stage. I am not going to spend tons of time if somebody's a long distance from me to create something from scratch. I will take pieces go in, find pieces and cut them apart and sew them together, be it by hand, be it by glue, be it by whatever can work that way. For the play that we did, I had to be Dash. I wasn't going to wear it again. I knew I wasn't going to wear it again. And to use this, it's a red sweatshirt. It was red leggings that I cut out. It was black shorts and a yellow piece. The part that made it in a costume that really stuck out was using foam. So one of those pieces that you go to a craft store, you see foam pieces that are the fun foam. You can do very simple projects with fun foam to elevate your costume.
Okay, so this.
Yeah, just good old fun foam. So. The next piece is a character that we had a Arthur that came that had a character named Khan, and he wore black striped socks, and the scarf. In the book, she actually had a pattern with the scarf. I cannot knit. Can't knit to save the world. This is when you go to a friend and go, I will pay you to knit this for me. And so this is her pattern of the scarf, and done that way. The wig is something I bought too. Cheap wig, put a little white strip into it. So the reason why I'm showing you all of these things that I've done or gotten, when I create something, there's one item that sticks out and everything goes underneath it. So the item that stuck out for here was the scarf. I could easily find a black shirt. I could easily find old sweatpants that I just chopped off. The socks, you can find shoes. So when I costume and go out and do costuming for a hall costume, and I find a character that I like or want to deal with, I look underneath and take away the item that makes it special. Because all costumes have one item or two items that really pop out that makes that character. Be it blue hair, be it a neck scarf, be it something like that. There's always, so it's all about the layers for me. Is that making sense at all? So this brings us to Star Wars. So for Tick on stage, one of the people I'm supposed to play is Rey. The unique thing about her is all about the cross pieces and the flowy piece that's over top of her. What's underneath is, for me, was a tank top, a washed out tank top. I mean, very simple. I know you're like, no, Rey needs to be broke down a lot more. But this was for a stage play that I had to throw it on really quick and throw it off. So it was about the purpose and the goal of the piece. Was it going to be something that I am going to wear everywhere? Am I going to spend the money to make it so it's tip-top notch that I can wear it anywhere? Or is it going to be on stage for 20 minutes? Do I need to make it, exactly like it looks like? So that's the piece with that. Underneath was good old sweatpants that we found, and curtain. Curtain was the part across the shoulders and wrapped around. Found a good old leather bag that you could put around your waist. It is actually an old, I think,
binocular
case. So as I was saying before, it's all about the goal. Are you going to spend a lot of time in this? Are you going to wear out to a bar? Do you care if something's going to get dumped on it? Are you going to have the tip-top notch? And so all of these things, when I do make a costume, falls into that. How much time is it worth? So in other words, when you start costuming, like all hobbies, it is worth time, it is worth money, because your time is worth money. In that either you're going to pay by monetary or you're going to pay by your time. And so if I am going to go on stage for a performance that is judgment on the costume, I will build it from ground up. If I'm going on stage to perform for half an hour, I'm not going to spend tons of money and my time with it. So that's getting into that for that mindset. But for walking the halls, looks pretty good. If somebody bumps into you and damages it, oh well. Dang it, but oh well. And so that. Madame Hooch was a happy mistake, I guess. What happened is a lot of times when I do costuming before or make a piece, it will be used in other places. So the blue piece was made for a steampunk Tinkerbell and Wendy. I wasn't going to wear that again, but I made the piece and I wanted to keep using it. So looking at her, it's not exactly the same, but if you're wandering the hallways or you are outside and worried about care, it works pretty well. The corner part, or that's corner part, I just blanked. The robe is a graduation robe I found at Goodwill. The gloves are the part that I made, in that I found the gloves and then I made the collars, the arm pieces, because to find something like that, and if you're going to buy something like that, be a lot of money. Where you could find easy leather gloves that would be gardening gloves. You make a collar for it, put a little elastic around it, maybe click it in, and you'd have gloves, and it gives the illusion of long gloves. Goggles, steampunk goggles. They were made for steampunk. So the shirt was one I had. The tie was my husband's. So I borrow from his costume area too. Now, all of these items are based on characters. You also do not have to base it on characters. You can make your own. So that's why I'm bringing the steampunk up. You can see I have that lovely blue shirt used here instead of on Hooch or the Tinkerbell. I had a corset and I bought a leather coat that I had found. The hat, of course, goes back and forth, and then we have the shirt that I found online that I purchased. So this was the expensive part of the costume, besides the corset, I guess. But I'm showing this because the basis of the steampunk becomes the Queen of Hearts. So what I want to show is, even though you've made a costume one way, it can become something else without a lot of money, without a lot of cost, and just by changing that one unique item. So I don't have the corset, that's gone. I have the nice shirt. The underdress is a good old dress I found at Goodwill that was someone's prom dress or wedding dress at some time. Found a good old
tablecloth or curtains?
Curtains. Good old curtains. And repurposed them as the robe. Around my waist, I don't have here, has the belt here. I actually have a teacup one that works for the Queen of Hearts that I wear. And she has evolved over the years. In other words, the first time I wore her, I had made a card neck piece and made it fast. So when it died, I wasn't too upset. I had a crown. So what's created this costume was I was contacted by the West Des Moines Library asking me if I could do a Queen of Hearts. Sure, no problem. Let me grab some curtains I found and make a robe in a day at the most. And I showed up with this costume. Had so much fun with her, I improved her. So what you can do is start off with a very simple costume and keep on improving them as they go, if you're going to keep on using them. Add more unique items. Do that kind of thing. So the collar disappeared. The hat became a teacup card hat. And then at IKEA, they had a neck piece that was actually for kids, but it fits my neck, and it got added on. So a costume, if it's your own take, because this is my own take of Queen of Hearts, doesn't have to be exactly like what it is, because it's your own take on it. So you can keep on improving, keep on adding. There is this that at one time was a prom dress. It got changed into a bustle. So this became a steampunk bustle. I just split it down the back and then sewed the two pieces together and put a piece across the top. And when you tie it on, you put the shirt on, and it covers it. So a lot of my costuming is in layers. There's always one or two unique items to it. See if that's my last one, I think. Yes. And with that unique item, you can build underneath and then add layers or change it. And so I guess that's what I want to bring to you is when you do a costuming, you're not locked into it has to be like this. By finding pieces, you can change it. If it's your own take, you can take something and change it again, and you're not just locked, it has to be just this. You can expand it in different areas. So, do you have any questions? I kind of rambled a little bit because I'm a little tired, but ways, I'm going to go into, I don't have this up here, but ways that you can make changes to items that are efficient, or not efficient, but aren't costly. You have the foam that I showed you. You have what's called sculpty clay. I've used that before for making unique buttons that the character wears to give it that unique taste. That you have, gotta bring up my old one because I don't have that in front of me. I was just doing this pieces. I'm trying to find where it is. Yeah, so I've talked about fun foam. Great, easy way to change an item. Cheap and affordable. You have good old sculpty clay that I've used to make the little amulets or things to give it that special little difference. And those are the more, your glues. You also have all your glues. And sometimes costuming can be scary for beginners. This is a great way to step your toe into it. A lot of people like, you have to sew. No, you don't have to sew. You have to do this. No, you don't have to do this way. What you want to do is step in where you're comfortable doing it. Look at something. You can break it down. My brain looks at a character and will say, I think I mentioned this. Okay, those are pants. That's a shirt. That's a weird shirt. But they put stripes on it. And so just by breaking something down to its basics, it takes the fear away of, that is a really amazing piece. It kind of scares me. I'm not sure if I want to do that piece. So.
The door's stuck. There's 4 people out there shouldn't pull on the door for the last few minutes.
So come on in.
Yeah. You guys come in? We're just sneaking in for
It's okay.
The door open or closed?
That's fine. If it gets too loud, we'll just close it.
I guess the other way we left.
So, all right. So that's what I was talking about with finding pieces. As I said, I'm a little tired, so I'm hoping it made some sense. Do you have questions on costing itself, on finding items? A lot of them, like I said, I hit garage sales. I walk by something and go, well, that's interesting, and grab it, and I might not use it for a year. That irritates husband. What the heck?
Well, Mandy, when people are intimidated by cosmetic business, that's what I do, and there are jobs where you are a buyer.
Yeah.
Your whole purpose is to source strange and unusual items to be used, and 90% of the times you're buying something that is not for what its intended purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If you know some of your group costumings, like the Star Wars people, they researched and found out that the communicator used in episode 1 was a ladies' radiator. That's not what its intended purpose was, but somebody found that and then painted it, stuck a little greebly on it, and turned it upside down, and it's now a communicator. So sometimes you just have to look at an item and so it's a camera bag. It's a thing for binoculars. But if I change the strap, or instead of wearing it over my shoulder, I put it on as a belt, it becomes something different. So a lot of people just, sometimes you just have to have a different eye on something. Like I said, I've made costumes out of curtains. You've all seen my red queen.
Well,
that went 3 different ways, and all I did was change the underskirt each time.
One of your favorite costumes you did was the mail order bride, and it was made out of all packing material.
Yep. The skirt was white Tevlik mailing envelopes that I split open and packing taped together, and the corset was a priority mail box, actual box. The crown was made out of this funky paper that was slit, but when you pulled it apart, it looked like lace. And I even had packing peanuts glued to my head on the veil. And I had a friend that did shipping at work, so he gave me a bunch of priority mail labels. There was bubble wrap involved, lots of bubble wrap, which that started my whole path down bubble wrap, which you will see tonight.
Okay.
So more bubble wrap to come. So yeah, sometimes it's I've done curtains, repurpose, because you can get some really fun and interesting patterns in the home and deck. Because I said I thought that was something you would make. That's a neck pillow for like traveling.
It's a kid's thing. I don't know. It was a Kia. I thought, well, this is going to be my new neck piece for the queen. It was
for
$8.
nursing. I wonder if it's for nursing
or
something.
Made that yourself.
No. There's things I find and I change. So.
Well, yeah, like I said, home deck's always a good place to look too. You'd be surprised at the interesting prints and patterns and stuff. Yeah, use bridal wear is always a great thing, because one of my steampunk things was I couldn't wear the upper half of the dress, so I took just the skirt off and put a waistband on it, and it became the lower half, and I mixed it with something else, and pretty much that was all found.
I took a
it's like a kind of ball gown. It wasn't mine. It was a hand-me-down from somebody, and they had only worn it once. And it was in great condition. It's like white and kind of pearl-like, silky, translucent, but it's got this overlayer that cuts in front. And I'm like, I can't wear this. It doesn't fit me. But if I actually cut it just right, I can transform it into a cape, and without having to do a whole lot of extra effort to it, and then just even attach a hood to it, and you've got this very elegant formal cape, which is perfect for an elf costume if you're doing Lord of the Rings.
One of the things too with doing garage sale or
Flea markets.
If you make a mistake and you spent $2, you're not going to be horrified. Oh my God, I just destroyed the whole thing. Dang, that was $2. Oh shoot. I grabbed some things going, if I make a mistake cutting it, oh well, and usually I'm okay, or I can figure out something to change it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I don't see them always as mistakes, because then I'll change it and go, oh, that was actually better. That's one thing I will say about beginning, trying to figure out where you're going with costuming, and just trying to find objects. And I have been told that my brain thinks things differently, because I'll look at something and go, oh, that's going to be this. And sometimes it's a little hard for those people that are more right brain or left brain, I'm not sure which way it is, to imagine something different. But it is something that you kind of train yourself to do. In other words, if you're with a friend that can do it, pull them with you. Have them go out with you and say, I want this kind of thing. Like you said, the tricorder. I want a tricorder kind of thing. Well, what can I find out there that could be used for that? Well, they used a razor. They flipped it over and used a razor. That was everyday item. If you have somebody that's with you, you start looking at it and going, oh, I see that. So it's a kind of, it's not all brains work that way. It's just something like that. I mean, so, but it's good to get a friend that can go, oh, yeah, let's go hunting together. And you both will bob off ideas from each other, and you'll expand. I mean, one of the things that when I was competing more with the group, we have a group here that are great costumers, that one would come up with an idea, and then they'll say, well, we want to do this. And each of us will fall into our areas that we kind of specialize in. I'm good at painting, so I would always get pulled in for the painting part. Somebody else was great in cutting or building things, which was great. So he would make some elaborate out of just wood pieces. So everybody kind of fell into their own part, but when they did that, we started interacting with each other and learning from each other. So sometimes costuming is great if you can be with somebody else that you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and see things a little bit differently and learn from each other. Because there's things I can do now that I wouldn't have been able to do 10 years ago, but I learned it from Greg doing something, or I learned it from Sally or one of the other groups. So it's, even though there's a lot of costumers out there that want to share their ideas, want to work with you, want to do stuff and educate and say, hey, come on, let's try something new. It's always good to find a group of people who can do that. So, hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Mandy.
You bet.
Fun.
See you later. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? I know that people are scatting because masquerade. Woohoo! So if you are interested in some costuming, the masquerade will be at 8 o'clock. They have to show up at 7. So yeah, so
okay.
yeah. So 6 to 7 is the auction, silent auction, art auction, and then 7 to 8 is the let's set up everything, make sure everything's okay, and that's when they're getting judged and that kind of thing. So, is there any questions? I'm hoping that some of this made sense. Just
a comment. So I did 7 of 9 a few years ago.
Yes.
And the outfit itself cost a pretty penny, but figuring out how to get the face piece on was like 5 minutes in the hotel room. My husband took a styrofoam plate, some model paint, and something to like burn the plate with so we could mold it. And then we stuck it to my face with eyelash glue. It stuck the whole night. I was able to eat and talk, and it wasn't a problem at all. It was the simplest thing, but you know, it's just that little touch that without that, it wouldn't quite be the same.
And one thing I do want to talk about is do the whole body. In other words, one of the things I remember is it was this amazing costume somebody had, and they're walking down, and I know what the shoes look like on that costume, and I look down, and they're white tennis shoes. Now, if their feet were hurting, that's fine, you know, but it kind of blew that little illusion at the very end of going, oh, wow, okay, the feet hurt. It's a hall costume. I understand. That's fine. But my costume side was like, no, I want the black boots, you know, that kind of thing. Think about what the feet would be wearing, or what the hands would wear, or if the hair would be a wig, or not just what the costume is itself. That's a piece of it, but the little additions of the footwear or the handwear or the extension that's not just this part is important.
Makeup too.
Makeup.
I had Linda Sherman, who was a really talented makeup artist, do my makeup for that. And there were people turning around because my face looks nothing like Jerry Lynn Ryan's, but she made me look like Jerry Lynn Ryan. I was like, whoa, is she here?
So that's also something to think about for those that are beginning. Think about the feet, think about the hands, think about the makeup. And if the makeup you're like, oh, I'm not sure, even just adding a little color to your face, or sticking a styrofoam piece to your face can pop the costume. I'm trying to think. I had one of the, which costume was it? I can't remember. But it was a very basic costume, but by just holding a something, they're like, oh, you're that person. And it was like a stuffed animal, you know. This was signed, but by just holding that one thing. And it's, what's your prop? What's your shoes? You know, so those are the little things you need to start thinking about if you want to get more and more into costuming. That gives that little pop, pulls people into the illusion, want to talk to you, that kind of thing. Now, I've talked about goal in that, do you care if that costume gets damaged? Critique-wise, for costuming, you should not touch somebody else's costume. You shouldn't come up and say, that's great. Don't do that. But there are some people that if you're out and there's drinking of alcohol, somebody might touch your costume or do something or break that boundary that people should have with costuming. So that's why I always think about, I'm going to be in a hotel room, doing the hallways. Is it okay if something gets on it? If there's some chance, and I spent tons of hours and hours, I won't wear that costume in the hall that's closed. Now, if I'm going to be outside or on stage, I will wear that costume. Or I've had it for so long that I'm like, okay, I'm only going to wear it a couple more times. I'm going to put on that costume. So there's that thought process in too. And that's why when I talk about goals, if I'm on stage for a competition, it's ground up. If I'm not, I usually will do pieces. I just am like, my time. You do it long enough that you're like I said, your time is worth money. How much do you want to spend on it? So it's like on any hobby, like I said before, and we do it because we love it. But there's also points where you're like, I don't love it enough to sacrifice that piece. So, any other questions or comments?
On the Queen of Hearts piece,
Yes.
It looked like there was some lacing that was added, like.
Oh, so when I did this piece, that was the connection point for the collar.
Okay.
And then when the collar disappeared, I just kept them in their bows now. And so if I had the collar, I wanted to do the collar, I would hooked it in that way. It is back heavy because it's a train, so you come along. So I have to wear that belt because it locks it in. But when it had the collar, by the end it would be falling down. So that whole concept of improving your costume on comfortability or that kind of thing is, okay, it's pulling back here, let's get rid of the collar, let's find something else, and that came into my hands. So you're like, yes. And that's also too, one thing I want to talk about is if you're doing a hall costume, think of how comfortable you're going to be in it. I'm kind of jumping off going, hey, let's just go into costume stuff here. Think how comfortable you're going to be in it. In other words, if you don't care and you want to be this regal, go for it. But I think about, can I go to the bathroom in this costume? Am I going to have somebody zip me up in the back? So these are things that pop into my head if I know I have to be self-sufficient, nobody's going to be around me. Is people going to trip over my train if I'm walking in the hallway? Because the worst thing is walking in and doing this as somebody stomps on your dress from behind. So that pops into my head too when I'm costuming. How comfortable is it? Can I go to the bathroom? Can I eat in it? Usually you don't eat in costumes, but sometimes you have no choice. I know a costumer that is at the Des Moines Playhouse. She would kill you if you took a bite of anything in your costume, which is fully understandable. But it's your costume. If you made it, if you're comfortable eating it, okay. Just realize that you can stay in it. So the basic things that you don't think about, are my feet going to hurt?
If at all possible, do a trial run with it.
Yes.
Somewhere. Because it'll help work the kinks out before you get it somewhere that you can't fix it right now.
Yeah. So, and there's times that you're like, oh, I don't have time to do the trial on. You'll find something that's off that you didn't even think about until, like, what was it? I was going through a door, I had everything, and somebody shut the door behind me, and I was caught because there was a piece that I didn't know was there, So something will happen. And the trial run, very important. Jumping into like presentations, because they are accepting on stage, find items and recreating them. Record it before you even go on stage. If you're going to do a presentation, record it so you can see what you look like, and that will help you too. I'm kind of jumping off. Hey, let's throw out this knowledge. That's how I think I do so well, is I record what I have, because I'll turn and went, oh, that looks kind of weird, or I'm looking down all the time because I'm trying to find where I'm stepping. Practice with your costume if you're doing presentations. Even in hallways, practice walking in your costume. Sometimes your costume will tell you how you're going to walk. So the character Jack Sparrow, the rumor is Johnny Depp was trying to figure out how he was going to do this character, and they put the coat on him, which has those arms, and he did this. And he goes, oh, that's the character. Well, I made the coat because I wanted to do a pirate outfit. I did it, and I went, I totally understand. Because when he did this, it kind of just hung. But when he brought it up, that weight was balanced out. So your costume can tell you how your body's going to move in it. If you can breathe in it. There's some people that I'm like, are you breathing? Do we need to fan you? If it's going to be too hot. If you need an ice pack. There's all these little things that you think about as you get more and more into costuming. So, any questions? I'm kind of just going on my knowledge now, jumping all over the place. Is anybody interested in a certain costume or want to say, hey, I have this idea, what would you do with it? Is there anybody out there that...
I've been thinking of doing like a guided costume from Star Trek.
Okay. Ryan, that's Whoopi Goldberg.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We actually had a gal do one on stage here. Her hat, because the hat is the unique
Yeah.
part of it.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember, I think she did, it's not wire, it was a plastic. She made a plastic tube that was curved, and that gave the strength at the top of the hat. And then I think it was stretchy, but I can't remember if there was a form inside it or not. So, but yeah, so that's the unique part in that one. That one is hard to find to create.
Yeah.
Though I know there are patterns out for it. You just go on Google and try to find her hat pattern. The rest of it is pretty much a robe, if I remember correctly. I may not be remembering right, but so.
YouTube might have ideas.
Yeah, YouTube you can go on and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in this costume. But yeah, the basic one is a robe.
When she's on the Enterprise, it's a robe.
Yeah, is it different now? I haven't seen
Well, when she's on Earth, back in the 1800s.
Oh yeah, she was in a suit and that kind of thing. So, yeah, when you start getting the space age, they try to start doing unique things. You're like, oh, that's a robe, but then they put this on top, and they put this on top, and they made this cool hat that's the unique piece that you got to figure out. So.
On YouTube, you can find a lot of things. Like a friend of mine found how to make a Star Trek uniform out of like a couple of t-shirts.
Yeah.
Pretty simple and easy. If you don't, like I don't have a lot of really good sewing skills, so for me that's like, okay, I can do that.
And not everybody's going to be a good sewer. And there's things that you can buy to, help you that way. I mean, or you can find the t-shirts and if you think someone might have done it, they've probably done it. Go on YouTube and just say blah 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 blah, and you will find 4 or 5 videos.
Yeah. I did Princess Leia, and I had to figure out how to get my hair into those buns. And there was a YouTube video that showed me exactly how to do it.
Tutorial right there.
Like, hey, that's not as hard as I thought it was. Okay. Let's try it.
Yep. I mean, starting costuming all those years ago, there was nothing like YouTube. There was nothing. The items that we started out with, if you're getting more into creating things, now you have Warbler, now you have all these other things where before it was cardboard and maybe, I can't remember what the one is, something that, certain wax that so where it is from all those years ago to where it is now, it can be, I remember when we did a costume on stage that was tarot cards, but they had to make certain things that lit up on stage, and this was a really long time ago. Compared to what the electronics was back then, because they had to get a glow ball that had the electric things out of it, take it apart, and then connect it in and somehow give it enough power for it to go. And this was when they had the huge batteries. That would be your power thing. Now, okay, you can purchase that by itself. It's a small little thing. You put like a tube, it's an LED light, so you put in a AA battery and you're good. It's so more compact than what you used to. So things keep on changing if you get into the costuming making part. But this is a great way to start when you're just starting, just trying to figure out what you like, and go from there. So, no, go ahead, please.
So I found a necklace that looked like a mirror that hangs on the wall.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like minutes apart, I found a pin with a large apple with a little Mr. Yucky face on it for poison.
Yeah.
And I don't know how these two things came together in my head. But it was put putting together a Rosie the Riveter, Snow White Evil Queen combo.
Oh,
Nice.
With the idea, because I don't have black hair, you could tie the Rosie the Riveter bandana thing in a black one.
Yeah.
So that would be black on top. And then you've got the necklace that is the mirror, and then you've got the pin. But then I get lost when I start thinking she kind of needs a crown. And that's where I start.
What to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask what other little props she has. You have the necklace. So is the necklace metal?
The necklace is metal.
Metal, and the button is
Enamel.
enamel.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I'm like, well, if this is metal, you kind of probably want more of a metal-looking kind of crown to match the crown with the mirror. What you want, you know. Or you could do the enamel, or you could combine the two. There are jewelry. Okay. There's a lot of ways you could go with this. I'm trying to think which way would be the easiest way. So are you doing the crown on top, or is it like a little crown that's off to the side?
I was thinking on top.
Okay.
Because that's really her most iconic piece, is the black headpiece that's so form-fitting with the crown.
Okay. Is this based on a crown, or is it just your idea of a crown?
Just my idea.
Okay, okay. Then that will keep on. So you want it probably to kind of match. This is my opinion. Again, my opinion. It is your costume. You can take it or leave it. So the necklace is probably gold, right? So you probably want the matching gold to here, just that way. There is, I'm trying to think what the other pieces are. You probably want to find a circle that will fit your head for the base. Or you can use foam for the base, and painting can do that foam, and then you can, so it fits comfortable. And then there is, I'm trying to think which way. You can use wire, which you can get good old jewelry wire, the thick stuff. Or you can get good old foam, the foam I was talking about. And the illusion is you build the base, but then you cover it with gold paint, not spray paint, but you get the paint. And then you can glue on jewels and things like that. So it's light, you can fit it to your head, and by painting it, usually it's 3 levels if you're painting it. You do the base coat, which would be a gold. You do a black wash. So what a black wash is, I'm using acrylics for this. At least this is when I do it. Black wash, which means I take black paint and put a lot of water in with it. And then I just wipe it over it. And then I take a cloth and kind of wipe off the excess. What that does is if you do any crevice or any edges or anything else, it goes to that area so that makes it look older.
Okay.
So that brassiness of a gold also gets brought down. And then after that, it depends on which way you want to go. You can come back with another lighter gold and just do a light over certain areas, like the popped areas. So if you did layers to it, you can go over top and do that, and they'll pop that. If you have a gem, you can go around the edges and play with that. So by doing layers of paint, you can give this illusion of actual gold, where and let me go back to come back. So the goggles here, the goggles that are steampunk, they were a black hard plastic. When you use something that's black hard plastic, you want to sand it, and so I use a green scuffy pad. Yeah, we're getting close to the end, but scuffy pad. I scuff it up, paint that color, come back with that black wash. Well, you first let it dry, come back with black wash, and then I come back with a light green patina, and so that makes it the copper pop. Now with gold, that has happened. I'm not sure if green would be the correct color, but you can come back and do a little detail that way too. Now, again, this is lightweight, but
Right.
but if you make a mistake, you're like, oh, well, that's 50 cents to a foam. But you can do a very easy circle around your head, couple of layers, like 3 layers to give that weight,
Mm-hmm.
and then come in with the other foam.
Oh yeah, I would not have even thought of layering it. Yes, you're right. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Because you want that strength. Now, if you're worried that it'll bow, usually sometimes when you build on it, it's fine. You can also put a little wire at the top of that piece around to give it that structure, so you won't be able to collapse it. And that can be, wire that you gauge. And it doesn't have to be connected, you just have to make sure that it's got that, and then you connect it that way.
Okay.
So that gives it the strength. At least that's me trying to figure out, break it down, a simple way. There's a lot of work to it, but it's still fun, and it's foam. You can just cut it real easy, and layers is always a good thing for foam.
Okay.
So.
Thank you so much.
I hope that made sense.
It does.
I'm all about painting. As I said, I'm known for my painting, so I'll do layers and things like that. So it looks like we're getting close to the time we need to wrap up. Any last questions? I hope this helped you in starting out and going from there, and how my brain works may not work the same way yours does, but it's a good kind of glimpse of how you can step into very basic costuming and not be overwhelmed. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I hope that helps everybody.